Alright guys, it's Monday. That means it's time for a Halo Q&A. So for those of you just joining us, the rules are incredibly simple. All you have to do is leave your Halo related questions in the comment section below, and hopefully they'll be answered on next week's show. So we're going to kick this week off with a question from Fake Keith David, who says, Halo Q&A, do you think the Covenant is fully defeated? And will they be in Halo 6, fighting the Banished? So here's the problem with the Covenant in Halo's universe. Yeah, we're jumping right into complaining and nitpicking. So with Bungie's Halo games, they didn't really treat the universe very seriously. Now that's not to say that the stories were bad. It just means that they never really bothered about, like, real-world consequences. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly okay. That was the way that Bungie told their story. It was a lot more fantastical. It was a lot more, like, it's like, don't worry about realism, all right? This is a fun story. We're saving the galaxy and stuff. And that's the way that's the goal that Bungie aimed for with their Halo trilogy. So with 343, what they wanted to do was, instead of, they could have continued kind of like the, space adventure, this is a lot of fun, isn't it? Like that kind of story. They instead wanted to treat Halo's universe very seriously and try to discuss real-world consequences of some of the things that happen within Halo's universe. So with Bungie, because they were telling it was much more fantasy-like. It was like, you're fighting the evil Covenant Empire, you slay their leader, and that's, you saved Earth, that's the end of them. Where with 343, they're like, okay, we're gonna take this a little bit more seriously, so realistically, that would not be the fall of an empire, because if you look throughout human history, I mean, no, an empire never just falls like that. There will always be splinter groups fighting for control of whatever's left of the empire after it begins to finally collapse. There will even be civil wars within the empire during its strongest periods and stuff. So even though the quote-quote empire will be falling, there will be different groups of people trying to continue the fight and continue the empire's name. So with Halo 4, they showed us that, well, yes, the Covenant Empire has kind of been defeated. What's left of them is now fighting for control of the remains of Truth's empire. Like, there will be cities in the Milky Way galaxy and different strongholds and stuff that Truth has set up. And what they'll probably hear from the Ark is that, oh crud, our old Arbiter just killed the Prophet of Truth. Also, the Truth was lying? Like, Truth was lying to us all? Apparently, the Ark is not the key to salvation. Apparently, it's just a giant super weapon. Oh, man, like, we have been living a lie. And then there will be other people saying, no, that's stupid. No, it's just a trick to try to deceive us. And so there will be arguing and bickering. There will be people saying, no, like, we've got to reform the Covenant Empire. We got to bring it back to its might and stuff, but we got to have a better leader than Truth, who is foolish and got himself killed. And then there will be people saying, no, Truth was right. We got to activate the rings. And people will be fighting with each other and stuff. So the Covenant will not be officially dead until decades and decades later, when all of these remnant factions finally just kill each other off because of all the different civil wars that will be going on. Now, in terms of trying to tell a cohesive story, the problem with the jump from Bungie to 343 is that Bungie, they told very fantasy-heavy stories that didn't really worry about real-world consequences because they weren't trying to tell a realistic story. Where 343, they wanted to tell very realistic stories within the Halo universe. They wanted to take the Halo universe a bit more seriously. Those two themes clash if you just suddenly make it. It's like, you know what? It's like take Star Wars Episode 4 and then Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, if that was actually more like, say, an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's like, wait, whoa, like, these are two entirely different types of storytelling. Like, this makes no sense. There's no cohesion here in the style of storytelling. And I think actually that is the problem with 343's take on the Covenant post-Halo 3, more so than the idea of actual Covenant splinter factions all fighting each other. The problem is just that Halo 4, without any transition, just boom, jumped right into more grounded, serious storytelling, while the previous Halo game was very fantasy-like. I'm talking about Halo 3. For me personally, I think that Halo 4 should have, right out of the gate, it should have made it abundantly clear what was going on to the player. They shouldn't have called them, also Covenant as well. No, they should have called Jul 'Mdama's Covenant something different. They should have, like, tried to hammer into your head that these are remnants, these are splinter factions and stuff. They shouldn't have called them Covenant throughout the game. They should have called them remnants or splinter groups, or hell, give Jul 'Mdama's Covenant an official name and call them something different other than Covenant. Because to your average casual gamer, they won't really get what's going on. They'll just be like, this is, like, different from Bungie's style of storytelling. This makes no sense. I thought the whole point of Halo 3 was finishing the fight, stopping the Covenant once and for all. And then in Halo 5, it's like, this is the fall of the Covenant. And it's like, actually, no, it's like the fall of one of the many, many Covenant splinter factions across the Halo universe. So do you kind of see what I mean here? So with Halo 6, no, the quote-quote Covenant are not defeated, because it's like, well, which Covenant are you talking about? There are still splinter groups just fighting each other for scraps of what's left of the Empire. I wouldn't mind if in Halo 6 we fight another Covenant remnant, but they made an effort to make sure that the player understood, no, these are not just called the Covenant as well, because they have elites, grunts, jackals, and hunters in their ranks. No, these are something different. They broke off from Truth's Covenant or whatever. Like, these guys are, I don't know, the Sons of the Promethean Awakening, like something like that. Just don't call them Covenant. Kind of like the Banished. Yes, on paper, the Banished are just Covenant as well. You know, they got grunts, they got elites, they've got hunters, but they're not called also the Covenant. Covenant 2, Electric Boogaloo. Like, no, just call them something different. Stop calling every single conglomerate of elites, jackals, hunters, and grunts Covenant. So we are going to move on to the next question, which is from The Elder Scrolls, who says, Halo Q&A. Do you think Halo would ever implement environmental destruction into the game? If so, what would be your reaction to it? So, with environmental destruction, it depends on what you mean. Do you mean like Battlefield-style environmental destruction where you are bringing down entire buildings? Or do you mean kind of like what Halo 5 started to do, where it was like, oh, some walls are breakable and you can break them down and it'll reveal a secret or a hidden route to flank enemies and stuff? Like, it would be tough, because with the way that Halo plays, it's usually like, well, here's a sandbox of enemies that we fight. Obviously, Halo 4 and definitely Halo 5 began to kind of limit the sandbox and make it a lot more linear in its approach. But Halo never really was like, okay, and you flattened the entire battlefield in your fight against the Covenant. It was always like, there's a building, there are snipers up in that hill, you get the idea, you can use the building as cover and stuff. So usually, by not having destructible environments, you can set up a lot of fun encounters based on the different things that you have everywhere. Like, oh, there's a crane that I can hide behind, or I can go up the ladder of the crane and it'll bring me to a scaffolding above the battlefield, and there'll be a sniper up on that scaffolding that I can use. So by making sure that the environment isn't just completely flattened in a realistic way by gunfire and mortars and stuff, you've set yourself up a fun little playground for people to fight Covenant on. That being said, having destructible environments could also lend itself to a lot of creative encounters. Like, let's take the crane for example. How about instead of climbing up it to get a sniper rifle up on a scaffolding above the battle, you can get in the crane and swing its arm around to knock down, like, buildings onto the Covenant snipers that are up in the hill or something like that. Like, you can interact with the environment and use it to your advantage. Like, It's a loaded question. It would have to depend on how it was implemented. I don't think that the Battlefield style of just flatten everything, I don't think that that would work, because ultimately at the end of your fight with the Covenant, there would be like no cover left. But I wouldn't mind seeing something a little bit more like kind of what Halo 5 started to do, where some walls you can kind of knock down a little bit. Maybe expand that into kind of like, oh, that little support beam over there, it's kind of weak. Maybe if you throw a grenade at it, it'll knock down this thing and create like a Rube Goldberg machine of things that fall down that'll maybe knock down a phantom that's flying overhead. Just something like that. As long as it's not too crazy, I wouldn't mind environmental destruction in Halo 5. In fact, actually, for Halo 2, the original plan was to have environmental destruction. If you guys want to check it out, actually, I'll link down to the forum post from, it was actually Sketch during the days of Bungie in Halo 2 that actually said, yeah, Halo 2 is going to have environmental destruction, like all the stuff that was not in the final game. But yeah, I'll link it in the description for you guys to check out. But I hope that answers your question. So the next question is from QQ, who says, yet another Q&A. Do you think Halo 6 needs boss battles? Not just like with the Prophet of Regret or 343 Guilty Spark, but a harder boss that actually takes skill/effort to defeat. The only real boss so far has been Tartarus, probably spelt wrong. Even he was really easy to defeat. Well, it didn't take much to defeat him. So here's the thing about Halo's bosses. Halo has never had good boss fights, alright? I'm sorry, fans of Halo 2. Regret was embarrassing. Tartarus was embarrassing. In fact, actually, Guilty Spark, I would argue, was at least fine, because it wasn't really supposed to be a boss battle. It was more supposed to be like, yeah, you're just gonna shoot him until he's dead, like, so that you don't kill him in a cutscene outside of the player's control. In fact, actually, that's, if I remember right, what Marty O'Donnell said. That's part of why they just gave you a Spartan laser and let you shoot Guilty Spark till he was dead, because it would have been more satisfying than just having Chief do it himself in a cutscene. And then with Halo 5, they had the Warden Eternal, which, granted, the Warden Eternal was awful. But I would say that in terms of actual physical bosses, he was the most creative out of the bosses that Halo had previously, you know, mainly Regret and Tartarus. As well as, I guess, like that Elite Heretic in Halo 2. I keep forgetting about that guy. The problem with Halo and bosses is Halo is a game that is the most fun when you're moving forward, when you're constantly moving and stuff. Halo is never fun when you have to defend a position or when you have to hide behind cover. No, like the best parts of Halo are when you're moving forward. You're just cutting people down and constantly moving. So with a boss battle, you've got to set up an arena, you've got to give the player very specific weapons to use and stuff, and the player can't just go through the level and stuff. Actually, I feel like if Halo were to try to tackle bosses a little bit more seriously, the best way to design a boss is an on-the-move boss, or some kind of vehicle boss. And no, not like the fucking things in Warzone. Those things are awful. I mean like a boss that is moving along a highway, and you're chasing him and trying to take him down and stuff. And there are things you can do to slow him down so you can get close and try to maybe snipe the driver of the, like, vehicle. Just... it can't be like, okay, now we're in an arena and you can't really move and you kind of have to basically sit behind cover where the boss can't get you and poke your head up every once in a while, or like hilariously like Tartarus, where it's like Ring Around the Rosie as you're just waiting for Tartarus's shields to go down. It's really a problem with the way that Halo is designed. It was never meant to have bosses, in my opinion. It goes against what Halo's designed for, to try to include bosses, just because of the nature of how Halo plays. So the next question is from Chronicles of Me, who says, Q&A, do you think Mike Coulter would be on board to play Spartan Locke for Halo 6? Now that he has taken on bigger projects, such as Marvel's Luke Cage, or the Netflix original, and also the fact that his character is so disliked. So, in my opinion, I think Mike Coulter doesn't really care that Agent Locke is disliked. In fact, I suspect that he never really cared. because very, very close to after he was like, oh, we're introducing a new character to the Halo universe, and it's played by actor Mike Coulter. Very close to that announcement, it was just like, oh, Marvel's making a Luke Cage show, and they've cast this guy as Luke Cage. So I think internally, Mike Coulter's mind was always on Marvel. It was like, oh god, I gotta do the stupid video game thing, but oh man, I'm gonna be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And you can really kind of see it in some of his performances. Now, this may just be me looking too deeply into things, but whenever he was in Nightfall, he always came across as like, I don't care, I'm just phoning it in, because once I get out of here, oh boy, baby, it's Marvel time. And then, I mean, to the point where even he was so busy that he couldn't even come back to 343 to do audio recordings for Agent Luck's character. They just got some other guy to do it. I've actually forgot his name right now. But in Halo 5, that is not Mike Coulter's voice. That is somebody different. They just use Mike Coulter's likeness, and so I wouldn't be surprised if in the future of the series they have some kind of deal with Mike Coulter to use his likeness. Like, they can continue to make Locke look like Mike Coulter, but what they'll probably do is just get somebody else to do motion capture, and then they'll just kind of put the Mike Coulter character model over this guy. Now, this is just me kind of theorizing or speculating, because I don't know the intricacies of motion capture technology. I don't know how easy that would be, because people have different shaped faces, believe it or not. It would be very difficult to find a talented, definitely certified motion capture actor who looks exactly like Mike Coulter, so that they can make the face, like the rigging of the model, line up. But that's what I speculate, at least what would happen on my limited knowledge of motion capture and the art of it. And so this next question is from Canadian Outlaw, who says, why did 343 invite critical YouTubers? 2 words, crowd control. So this is something that I disagree with, sir. So when I was invited to 343, I asked, well, like, I don't exactly praise any of your games. Why did you guys invite me out here? And it's more like, well, the thing is, your videos do bring up good points, and your videos aren't just mindless hate. You are trying to bring up genuine criticism that is bugging people, and so some of it's really insightful. Like, I know that my video on the armor art style of 343, that definitely made the rounds at 343, and it was really appreciated there. It was really cool actually talking to the Halo Wars 2 lead artist and just having him say, like, yeah, no, your armor video is like spot on, it's really good. And the thing also to understand is, when you go to like, let's say you really dislike Halo 4 and Halo 5, and you're like, oh, this is stupid, this is stupid, this is stupid. Well, what if you actually physically went to 343 and you had the people who made the game explain some of the choices and ways that they were going about it, whether it's engine limitations, budgetary concerns, or just like time constraint. Like, you get it now. You understand everything that happened behind the scenes. Like, you kind of get it and stuff. Well, now when you look at Halo, you're going to be like, okay, now I know why I didn't like Halo 4 and 5 from some of the stuff that went on behind the scenes. Well, what if now I say, well, okay, Halo 4 and 5 I dislike for these and these and these reasons, and now I know the behind-the-scenes reason for all of these things that I dislike. Well, what if, with that knowledge of what happened, I now criticize and give advice based around that kind of climate and the way that they make video games, because I understand a little bit more now, and I offer like advice that they could follow that is within the realms of reality, like that they could realistically do. Because I see a lot of people saying like, oh, the problem with Halo 5 is the campaign was too short. Halo 6 better have a 20-hour campaign. It better be semi-open world and da-da-da. It better have like multiple Krakens and Scarabs fighting, and it's like, whoa, like, that sounds amazing, but realistically that can't happen on a console, as well as like you gotta consider resource management and just like what goes into making a AAA game. Like, you are asking so much So no, definitely Favin, Actman, and myself, like us being invited to 343, it was not about crowd control at all. If anything, if it was about crowd control, then 343 really sucks at indoctrinating people and changing their minds, because my mind hasn't been changed. All the criticisms I have of Halo 4 and Halo 5, I still hold them. But the thing is, now I have better insight on some of the things that they did that I disliked. So now when I criticize and give advice in the future, I can suggest things that are more realistic and within the realm of possibility. It just makes criticizing actually a little bit easier, because now I know exactly where to go if I want to bite an issue that I'm having in the throat. And so the final question is from Femerlock, I think that's how you say it. He says, Q&A, I remember in Halo 3 and Halo Reach's theater modes, there was an option to view the action with a third-person, over-the-shoulder perspective. That made it look like you were watching a third-person offshoot Halo game. It really made me wish that there was actually a third-person option for custom games and campaign, and maybe even a third-person matchmaking playlist. I think it would make it so there would be more significance to customizing your Spartan. What do you think of this idea? So, the idea of a third-person Halo game or some kind of third-person mode is definitely not new. I've seen a lot of people asking me my opinions on this. So basically, in my opinion, yeah. Now, if third-person doesn't break the Halo engine in some way, because a lot of people don't understand that when a game releases, like let's say Halo 5, and it doesn't have a field of vision slider, the game was not optimized for a field of vision slider. So on the PC version, you can actually use Game Cheat's tool to modify the field of vision, pull it back, scale it forward if you want, but weird things will begin to happen when you do that with the engine. Like, things will break, the draw distance will be really awkward. I mean, hell, if you look down at your own feet when you use the field of vision slider, you can see kind of your disconnected torso, and it looks like it is floating a few feet down from your head, like your head is some kind of disembodied camera, and you've got this weird torso with legs that's following underneath you. Like, there are a lot of things that you got to consider when you're changing the perspective of a game. Now, there are mods that do make Halo play in third person, so if it, like, it could probably work. I mean, it would be very unwieldy because the game is designed to be played in the first-person perspective, but hey, if you give people the option to maybe make a third-person custom game in Halo, I've got no problem with that. That could be a lot of fun. You could probably create all sorts of different, more interesting game modes now that you have a third-person option. As long as it isn't like Star Wars Battlefront, where you can switch perspectives, where you can be in the first person or the third person, because that would actually genuinely throw off the balance, because let's say that you're hiding behind a corner, you could quickly jump to third-person mode and kind of tilt your camera so it's around the corner, so while your character is technically hiding, you can see around the corner, and you know, that would actually be quite unbalanced. So as long as it stays out of matchmaking, or maybe there's just some fun, wacky party playlist that is exclusively third-person, then yeah, go for it. I don't see a problem with some kind of third-person option in the custom game settings for Halo. And so I hope that that answers some of your questions for this week's Q&A, guys. And now my question to you all is, if you were to design a new weapon in Halo, how would you design it? How would you fit it in Halo Sandbox? What would it look like? What faction would it belong to? And I guess, would it be a power weapon? Would it be a projectile weapon? Would it be long range, short range? Anything. Just design your own Halo weapon. And yeah, I want to hear some of your thoughts. And so guys, I will see you later this week.